We're 3 days away from watching Adam Fantilli put on a Blue Jackets jersey and wear it in a game. That's today on Locked On Blue Jackets.
You're Locked On Blue Jackets, your daily podcast on the Columbus Blue Jackets. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Blue Jackets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Hayden Houshorn. With me is my co-host, Jay Foster. We're here to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of your favorite team and ours, the Columbus Blue Jackets. Before we get going, I want to thank you for making this your first listen every day. Locked On Blue Jackets is free and available on all podcast platforms, YouTube, and the SiriusXM app. We got Traverse City rosters, and it's finally here, Jay. The season, this is the start of the season for me. It's not the preseason, which comes later. It's Traverse City, which is taking place this week. We got a game on Thursday, a practice Wednesday, but we got rosters, most importantly, Jay. And we were really excited to see Adam Fantilli in this thing, and he's on the roster. So that's good for people that are going to be traveling up there. Are there any other names that you saw? I mean, obviously Fantilli is the big one, but who are you excited to see play in a Blue Jackets jersey this week, Jay?
Yeah, I mean, this roster is just loaded. So guys that were there last season, we've got Luca Delbel-Baluz, James Malatesta, Martin Rysavy, Mikhail Poutier, David Jiricek will be returning. Denton Matejchuk, Samuel Konazko, Stanislav Sozol, and Pavel Chayan are all returning players. And that's not even looking at guys like Luca Pinelli, who was just drafted this past season. Dmitry Voronkov will be making his debut in a Blue Jackets jersey as well. Like that might be what I'm most excited about, actually, I think, is Dmitry Voronkov. Adam Fantilli is at the top of the list, but then if you have to look kind of down a little bit, I think Dmitry Voronkov making his Blue Jackets jersey debut, I think, is going to be really, really fun.
Yeah, no, it's going to be exciting. He's been a long time. Blue Jackets fans have waited a long time to see him, and it's going to be cool to see some of those guys make their second trip back and just absolutely dominate. Like, I'm expecting David Jiricek to have like 5 goals in the first game, or at least have 8 points. I'm expecting Adam Fantilli to have 4 goals a game. This is one of the, and I know he's playing in his first one, obviously, but some of those other guys that you mentioned playing in their second one, like Luca Delbel-Baluz. Oh, gosh, I'm so excited to watch him play. Jordan Dumais, so excited for him. Yeah, those guys, this is like one of the ones I'm considering packing my wife up in the car and driving up to Michigan to watch this thing, because it's Adam Fantilli in a Blue Jackets jersey. That's the one I just can't get my mind off of, really. Is we keep talking about how is this team going to be this upcoming season. So much of it is centered around, and so much of it is dependent on how he's going to look and play, and we're finally going to get to see him in action. He looked really good at the development camp. He looked fantastic. He was head and shoulders above everybody. I can't wait to see what he's going to do against teams like the Maple Leafs, Stars, and Red Wings. Those are the other teams up there. And that'll just be fun to see kind of the prospect pool that those teams got cooking up. But, Jay, have you ever made it out to any open practices?
So I have been to one Blue Jackets practice, not in Columbus. I'm not going to tell the whole Pierre-Luc Dubois umbrella story because, frankly, we don't have time here. But I did, when they were in Minnesota a few years back, I did get to see a Blue Jacket practice, and it was really neat. It's fun to see them work on stuff, and then you watch a game and you're like, oh, they worked on that as practice. Like, you can kind of unpick the what's the word I want? You can unpick the drill almost, or yeah. I don't know what the word I want is. Play, I think. The play
exercise,
the designed play,
Design, yeah.
It's going to be a lot of fun. So I think there's going to be an open practice in a couple of days, I think, on Wednesday.
Correct.
So that'll be fun if you can go down to that. Make sure you do support the team. Again, get another look at Adam Fantilli in a Blue Jackets jersey before they head on up to Michigan. And It's been a long time since we've had Blue Jackets hockey, and this is not really Blue Jackets hockey necessarily, but Traverse City is always one of my favorite things to watch. Just because I love watching the prospect. They don't have the seriousness of a regular NHL game. It's a little bit like watching like a youth hockey pickup game almost.
Yes.
You know, it's not super structured. They're not super polished, but you get to see the potential. You get to see these guys have fun. And yeah, like I said, I'm super hyped about it. I think looking at the other teams and looking at their prospect pools, the Blue Jackets babies should effectively walk all over the other three teams. And the Blue Jackets had a pretty good track record at Traverse City. They've won 5 times in the past, I think, 20 years, 19 years.
This is their 21st appearance. Yes, You got it.
So they've done okay for themselves. Their last one in 2018, which I actually believe was the last time a trophy was handed out.
Is that
they haven't handed it out?
That trophy has a name. That trophy has a name, and I had it in front of me, and I lost it. Oh yeah, the Matthew West Memorial Cup. The Matthew West Memorial Cup. There's a U in West, so I don't know. I just completely ignored the U. I apologize to that. I'm sure great player or great person that this Memorial Cup is honoring. That's probably very rude of me. But Wednesday is the open practice. You're right. That's at the Ice House. 12:15. That one gets going. That's going to be fun because Blue Jackets fans, the fifth line showed up at the development camp at the Chiller. You know, the Ice House always people. It's more centered in the city, so people I think kind of know where it's at a little bit easier. That place will be packed for that practice. I'm sure. Just all the excitement around Fantilli. Thursday, the Blue Jackets play at 3:30, against Toronto. Again, these games will be – last year they were on BlueJackets.com, and everybody was able to stream it as long as you had a good internet connection. And you got to hear Bob McGilligan, the radio guy, and Dylan Tyre. You'll get some of him. I'm sure that'll be good. That'll just be good vibes. It'll just be – yes, and hopefully they're just absolutely dominating the Maple Leafs at 3:30. Wouldn't that just be awesome? You're in the middle of your workday. You get on BlueJackets.com. Maybe it's kind of like you got all your work done ahead of time, and you're just tuning in, and you just see Adam Fantilli just deking 3 Maple Leafs prospects. Like, doesn't that make you just –
it's going to rule. Like,
it's going to be awesome. It's going to be a great Thursday. And then Friday, nothing that day. Saturday, they play the Red Wings at 3:30. That one you can get around, maybe if college football is going bad, get around with the friends and family. Watch a hockey game in the middle of your Saturday. That's awesome. And then Sunday they play Dallas at 11 a.m. So there's a quick schedule rundown for you. Jay's got some pairings cooked up. I have maybe a pairing or two cooked up. We have some lines maybe that we'd like to see. And there's even a couple guys missing from the roster that I think deserve to be missing. And we'll talk about those guys up next. That's next on Locked On Blue Jackets.
Before we get into that, though, I want to talk to you guys about FanDuel because the NFL season has just kicked off, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to win all season long. Because right now, when you bet on a Super Bowl winner, you can get bonus bets every time they win in the regular season. So bet on the Browns, bet on the Bengals. If you pick either of those teams to win the Super Bowl, every time they win a game, you're going to get bonus bets, and you can use those bonus bets on spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. You could even use your bet on Blue Jackets and whether you think they're going to win games, who's going to score, all of that. So visit FanDuel.com/locked-on. Start earning bonus bets with America's #1 sportsbook. That's FanDuel.com/locked-on, the official sportsbook partner of the NFL and also us, the Locked On Podcast Network.
And we're back talking about the Traverse City rosters coming to you in 3 days. Thursday is the first game. Wednesday is the open practice that you'll get to see them. I'm sure not everybody plans on making the what is it, like a 7-8 hour drive up to Traverse City. So hey, go watch the Blue Jackets at that Wednesday
It is a
practice.
beautiful place, though. I've heard it's right by the lake.
It
It's
is.
real nice, and it's
I've
almost still summer. So if you've got a free couple of days, I would recommend making the drive.
Did you want to go through, like, the roster's kind of big. It's just big enough to the point I don't want to go through the whole thing, but I will just point out that no Ken Johnson and no Kirill Marchenko. Obviously, those guys established themselves as ready to go NHL players based off their season last year. They stacked the points majorly. This is just so awesome to go to something like this, by the way, because chances are you're going to see an NHL player just play like Adam Fantilli is, of course, going to be playing for the Blue Jackets this year, so we get to see him. But is there any pairings, any specific guys you want to see? Carson Kuhlman's, I'm really excited to see him out there. Denton Mateychuk will be out there. Both, I'd like to see those guys together. Play Stanislav Svozil,
so I
David
actually
Jiricek.
last season have very fond memories of watching Jiricek and Mateychuk were paired up for Traverse City, and I enjoyed watching that a whole bunch. They complement each other really well, I think. Mateychuk manages to, he's such a good skater that he can cover some of Jiricek's slip-ups, we'll say. Jiricek's really physical. They both have kind of an offensive streak. Mateychuk, I think, has slightly more of an offensive streak, but that's going to be a really fun pairing. I would also love to see Jiricek and Svozil play together. Those countrymen. However, they are, I believe, both right-handed. They are both right D, I believe, so it's unlikely that they will they'll play together. But that would also be a fun connection. I'm looking at the list of defensemen specifically here, and like the top 5 defensemen is so exciting. So we've got Denton Mateychuk, first-round pick. David Jiricek, first-round pick. Samuel Konazko, I believe, second-round pick. Carson Kuhlman's first-round pick. Stanislav Svozil, third-round pick that should have been a first-round pick. And then there's 3 guys that are free agent invites. So Ben Roger, who was playing in the OHL last season for Kingston. Nicholas DeAngelis, also playing in the OHL for Windsor. And Gunnar Kinneberg, which 10 out of 10 name there. He was playing for the University of Saskatchewan last season, which, correct me if I'm wrong, was where Mike Babcock and his son were coaching last season.
It was either there or Vermont, because I know Babcock went to both. I want to say...
I believe last season they were working at the University of Saskatchewan, so he will be aware of Kinneberg.
Cool. I'm excited to see those guys, by the way, because this is the chance for more names. Like you said, that top 5, that's a great... The Blue Jackets, we've talked about this in past episodes. Their prospect pool is so deep, and those top 5 names are all guys that we expect to flourish in the NHL at some point. Maybe not flourish, but definitely reach the NHL. They're that level of talent. Those other 3 guys that you just named, maybe there's something there. I mean, DeAngelis, he has some time played in the same league as all these other guys. So they're not backing down from this prospect camp at all. And they're still growing as hockey players. So it's getting to see all these guys after a summer of hard work, and it's going to be bullets flying. And it's like, who prepared the hardest for this? Who's going to take the most advantage? Because, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Jarmo and John Davidson both sit like in the mezzanine, like right above the rink, and are just staring down, watching what's going on. So they're taking notes, and it's like, the Blue Jackets are a team notoriously who, hey, if you come here with a good attitude and you want to be an NHL player and you want to be a star here, go ahead and take it, buddy. Like, we've seen Blankenberg do that, right? Like, nobody expected an undrafted,
college free agent. I just pulled up last year's roster. Jet Greaves was he was the only goalie before as well. He was he was a free agent invite. He was undrafted, made his NHL debut this season. Pavel Chayan, free agent, ended up signing with the Monsters and played a bunch last season. He's going to be there again this season. And there was another guy that I saw. Marcus Bjork was an undrafted guy. He was there last season, and he played a bunch in the NHL this season. So, you see guys that show up on these free agent invites. They can make the team. It's not out of the realm of possibility that we see any of these three guys as monsters this season. It's very unlikely they'll be Blue Jackets unless they turn up and are just somehow completely head and shoulders above all of the draft guys. That doesn't happen. But we could see any one of these three guys as monsters this season. In terms of the forward free agents, Sean McGurn, Oasis Weisblatt, who I think has my favorite name.
What a name
of everyone. And Coca Delich, who, again, so sorry if you're listening to this, I probably butchered your name. But those guys are all free agent invites as well. Oasis Weisblatt is the brother of Ozzy Weisblatt, who is a pretty good Sharks prospect right now. So if he's anything like his brother, it's going to be fun and energy and probably a little bit of chaos. I'm looking for him to have an impact at Traverse City. But even if you just look, you can look at the guys and go, okay, so they've got Fantilli, they've got Dumais, they've got Malatesta, they've got all of these guys that had really, really good showings last season. You've got Jiricek, you've got Matejchuk. And then you've got kind of the next layer of guys. So Hunter McCown is going to be there, who
I love this guy.
Who Hayden likes a lot.
Yes.
I also like Hunter McCown, maybe not quite as much as Hayden does. Cam Butler is going to be there. He was, I believe, another free agent signing for the Blue Jackets last season. He just finished his major junior career. He's going to be in Cleveland this season. He joined at the end of last season, so he'll be around. Luca Pinelli, who scored a goal last week in Ottawa's first game of the preseason, I believe. So it's going to be a lot of fun. One notable missing name is Gavin Brindley.
I noticed that too. Yeah, what's he doing?
The way that so the NCAA season will have started, and I don't believe NCAA players can go unless they're signed to ELCs, because Kent Johnson didn't go to the one in his draft year. He went to the one after he signed his ELC. So I believe NCAA players can't actually play as a Blue Jacket until they sign their ALC, because it's something to do with their college eligibility, I think. So that's why we haven't got Gavin Brindley. That's also why we haven't got William Whitelaw on this roster, because he is going to Wisconsin.
Yeah,
I believe.
With Corson, with Kuhlmans. Yeah. It's a great time. I'm like I said, flabbergasted that this week I can mentally dip out of work and tune into Blue Jackets just cutting up.
We're going to get hockey this week.
Yeah, that's just so exciting.
Get actual Blue Jackets players playing hockey for something that almost counts. As much fun as the Cap City Elite League was, this is like the next step, and then they get back from Traverse City. Training camp starts basically immediately, I think. Their final game is on September 18th, and then training camp starts on September 21st. We're so close, guys. We're so close to actual Blue Jackets hockey. And so Traverse City, to me, always feels like this is the end of the off season now, or this is the beginning of the new season. It's really, really exciting. I'm stoked.
Yeah, I'm stoked. I just want to drive up there this week to go watch all these guys play. I remember tuning in last year in the middle of the workday, same exact situation. I turned it on and I just watch David Jiricek just hitting clap bombs, like top cheese clappers, like on the
Dumais, I believe, had 5 or 6 points in 3 games last time. I remember I think he had 3 points in his first game in Traverse City, and I was like so hyped for this kid.
It really is. It's just I'm so jealous of the people that actually go, because they get to experience kind of the same thing that's going on up at Mullet Arena or down at Mullet Arena, which is just a really intimate atmosphere. And that's why it's always great to go to things like the Cap City Elite League and development camp. But we'll give our final thoughts on Traverse City, maybe even some predictions on how they'll do in these games. That's all coming for you guys next on Locked On Blue Jackets. All right. Again, Thursday this week at 3:30, the Blue Jackets in development camp, Traverse City, taking on the Maple Leafs. You'll get to see Adam Fantilli. I think he's going to have 3 goals at least. I'm willing to put my pinky on that with somebody, that he's going to have 3 goals in the first game that he plays, as long as he plays in an actual legit amount of time too. I'm not saying he gets out there. Right.
He will. I don't know who coaches.
Oh, it's Monsters coach.
Oh, yes. Okay. Oh yeah, I see it now. Trent Vogelhuber. Okay.
Yes.
So that'll be interesting. You've got to think Fantilli is going to be getting all of the ice time. Do you think he leads the team in scoring for this? Or do you think someone else? Do you think I think he might have the most impressive showing, but I think someone else will very quietly outscore him. And my guess for this is that I think Stanislav Svozil might quietly lead this team.
A defenseman. A defenseman.
He's not going to score a bunch of goals, but I think he's going to rack up assists like they're going out of fashion.
His best attribute is his passing. He absolutely showed that in the 2 games that he played this year for Columbus. He just jumped right in, and he looked exactly like I was able to blink, and he looked like, I always forget the guy that we traded to Los Angeles with Korpisalo.
Vladislav Gavrikov.
Vladislav Gavrikov. I hate that I forget Gavs. But that's who Stanislav Svozil looked like when he jumped in right away. I was like, he is fitting in perfectly, and I can't. Yeah, that's a sneaky good pick. I could see Luka
Svozil, obviously, we forget he just spent the entire season passing to Connor Bedard, so
perfect.
He's used to his passes going straight into the net as soon as he's done with them. And I'm going to be really excited to see if we can get that Svozil Bedard connection with someone like Fantilli, or maybe even someone like Voronkov. I think Voronkov is going to be a really sneaky good player here. Kirill Marchenko showed up last season and had a really good showing for his first showing in a Blue Jackets jersey, and the season before that as well, Igor Chinakhov. The Blue Jackets have had a pretty good stretch of Russian players at this tournament. Igor Chinakhov, I believe, scored 4 goals in 3 games at his Traverse City tournament.
I'm just going to go ahead and say that Adam Fantilli leads. I'm going to say the safe pick is Fantilli leads the team in points. I was looking at the other names.
I don't disrespect it. I just love to go outside of the box a little bit.
Yes, I'm gonna roll with that, and then I'm going to say the Blue Jackets win this thing. They win their 6th Matthew West Memorial Cup, and I just feel like they have the best prospect.
Yeah. My guess is I think the final is going to be Blue Jackets versus the Dallas Stars, because they also have some quite good prospects. I don't know that they have as many high-end ones as the Blue Jackets, but the high-end ones they do have are very, very good. And so I think that's my pick. If I had to pick who the Blue Jackets are going to face to win the cup, I think it's going to be the Dallas Stars.
Absolutely. I am befuddled that I forgot Vladislav Gavrikov's name for the 3rd time since I've joined this podcast.
It's fine.
That's all
I was listening to our old season reviews. I was listening to our old season reviews earlier and realized that I'd called Zach Werenski Nick Werenski at one point. So we're all just doing the best that we can out here.
I'm excited to watch this Traverse City camp, and you can do it again at bluejackets.com. Watch Bob McGilligan, listen to Dylan Tyre. They will take you into what is going to be a really fun Blue Jackets season. And then, it's the players come back for training camp. We figure out what the roster is going to be like once we get to preseason, I guess a little bit more. And then it cuts down to the opening night roster, which is going to be pretty fun. I still don't know what it's going to look like. I still think about what it could be, and I just have no idea. But that's all that Jay and I have for you guys today. Tomorrow, we're going to be doing a yearbook episode. So we're going back to last season for the final time. This will be a fun way to do it. We'll be looking at all the best players at each position, who had the best grades. That'll be superlatives and whatnot. Again, thank you so much for listening to today's episode, Locked On Blue Jackets XM app. My name is Hayden Houshorn. You can find me on Twitter at HaydenH971. You can find Jay on Twitter at _JAKOBFORSTER. You can find the show at LO_Blue Jackets. You can also email us, lockedonbluejackets@gmail.com. Thank you once again for listening. And until tomorrow, make sure you stay locked on.